Well, I've turned the gazing ball on its side, and I actually had someone give me a hand with that because, as I said in the previous video, it is quite awkward trying to do this on your own. So by having another pair of hands that can help maneuver it, makes it a lot easier. It's not that it's really heavy or anything, it's just that it is a little bit awkward. Now I drew a line all the way around, and actually it's a scrolly line, so it scrolls up like that. And once I got it to how I wanted, then I went over it in blue texture, because as this ball gets maneuvered around here and there, I don't want that line to disappear. So once I've got it pretty well right, which I have, then I went over it with the blue texture. And it was a little bit difficult on the other side because I had to do a little bit of guesswork because I couldn't maneuver the ball on my own, but I'm pretty sure I got it right anyway. So as you can see up on the video now, you'll see that the other side of the gazing ball and how it's sort of scrolling up towards the top. Now I'm going to be actually making, or I have actually made, pink roses, and they're going to follow that blue line up there, and they'll be kind of in clumps and like a climbing rose. I'm adding some leaves to that as well, and I may add another colour rose to go with that, so they help offset each other. I'm not really quite sure on that yet. I'm looking at maybe adding up the very top of the ball. I'm looking at maybe adding some wisteria hanging down. Again, that's just in a thought process. It doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. I'm going to be adding some leaves and some flowers all the way around in the spare area here and around the top area as well. So it's going to be sort of like a climbing rose in the middle of all these flowers. And that's the plan of attack I'm taking at this point in time. I'm going to now just quickly show you the roses that I've started creating, and that will give you a better understanding of what I'm going to be doing. Here's some roses that I've been cutting out, and I've been putting a clear over laminate on the top of them just to hold those petals together, and then I can store them and then use them when I need them. Now, of course, these are going to follow the blue line. I've put a clump of them here, and I've just put some sticky tape over the top of them just to stop them from sliding off. And if I tried to hold them and stop them from sliding off, then you wouldn't see them because my hands would be in the way. So that's all I've done here, and this gives you a bit of an idea of how this is going to look. I also need to add some rose leaves and also some buds, which I will also do, which will add a bit of interest to these roses going around. And I may also add another type of coloured rose. I'm not really quite sure, to help offset these. Now what I'm going to do is I can of course adhere these down, leaving the over laminate on them, and then once that adhesive is cured, I can then peel that over laminate off. But what I'm actually looking at doing is actually taking the petals off individually and laying them down into the adhesive as I go, because that way I will be able to finish as I go rather than having to come back and take that over laminate off. And I can clean them up as I go as well. All right, I've got my petals all ready, and I've also got my little baggie of thin set. So I'm pretty well ready to go. I am going to peel these off and then stick them down. I think that's going to be the way for me to go. I may have to cut a couple of these wider ones in half if it doesn't fit on the ball flat enough. So anyway, we'll give it a bit of a whirl. There you go. And I can actually do it like this as well if I want to. So whether you put it on the substrate or whether you put it on the actual flower is totally up to you. I'm not being too really careful with this thin set. I'm really, whoops, wrong side. I'm really just putting it on and allowing it to squish out, and then I can clean it up a bit once it cures a bit more. Go. And then I'll go in with my little pick thing and then clean up some of that thin set. I may have to actually, which I might do that, just cut that bit down because it is sticking up. And that's why I wanted to actually lay these down as I go, rather than just put a bit of, leave the tape on top is what I'm trying to say. That's much better, sitting flatter now. So I'll do one more, and then, and I've got to add some leaves and some buds to this as well. And it's going to look really quite good. It doesn't look all that good at the moment because you've got white thin set coming up between all the petals, but I think it'll turn out all right. And so I'll put one more down, and then I'll continue on and glue the others down, or adhere the others down off camera. When you're doing a gazing ball of this size, you really do need to cut quite a lot of flowers if you're going to do something like this. So I'll continue with this off camera, and then we'll come back when I've done some more. The gazing ball is progressing quite well, and I think the flowers are looking quite beautiful. Now, preparing the flowers away from the gazing ball, I find speeds up the process and makes it a lot easier. As I've always said, there's always more than one way to do a project. So if you're creating something like this, I'm sure you'll get into your own way on what works for you. But by sitting down in a comfortable chair just makes it easier, and pre-preparing them makes it quicker, rather than cutting over the gazing ball and sticking down each individual petal and the shards getting into your existing flowers. So I find pre-cutting them and then adhering them down really is easier and speeds up the process for me. Now, I am using thin set as my adhesive. However, in some cases, I'm not using that, and I'm using another product because that also speeds up the process and makes it a lot easier when you're dealing with smaller petals. So I'm going to get into that and show you that right now. Now, the other product I'm going to be using is Epoxy Sculpt. Now, this works really well when you want to adhere small flowers down, or the buds down, anything small, because when you're using thin set, it can squish up between those little petals, and it can be a little bit of a pain to get out, or it can be quite time consuming. Using Epoxy Sculpt, you don't have that issue. However, thin set is a lot cheaper than Epoxy Sculpt. I'm going to be doing the majority of this gazing ball in thin set, but for smaller pieces, I'm going to be using this because it is going to speed up the process and save a lot of cleaning up. So I'm going to be adhering down this particular rose here. Now, normally I would be using thin set for this. However, I haven't got any areas where I need a small petal right now. So I thought, look, I'll just quickly show you how I do it and show you how easy it is using Epoxy Sculpt. So all I'm going to do now is I've got a ball here, and I'm just going to squish it down into approximately the area where I want it. I'm going to do it larger than the area I need, because I will be scraping away the excess amount when I've adhered the petal down, or the flower down. Okay, we need a bit more over there. And then you put it approximately where you want it. Think up like that. And then I'm pushing down. Just firmly, not pushing it extremely hard, because if you push it too hard, the Epoxy Sculpt will squeeze up between the petals, which we don't want to do. And then all I do is I get the plastic and just peel it back. Whoop. Hold that, peel that back like that. And then I just go over and just push it down. and see how there's no squeezing up between the pedals. And if you do have some, although this is below the pedal, you can just push it down, or you can just dig it out a bit, like that. And then just go in and push the balance down, because you just need enough room for the grout to get into. But overall, that's about it. And then all I do is I just get the tool, go around the edge like that. Actually, this tool is actually better. Go around the edge like that, through there like that, because now what I'm going to do is pull the epoxy sculpt away. Hope my hand's not getting in the way. And you're left with this really nice, clean finish. And why I'm going around the edge there is because if I don't, you can pull it out and pull it away underneath from the actual tester. So by going around the edge there, you're kind of like knifing it away. There you go. Rather than pulling it away, if that makes sense. And in here. And you're not throwing away any of these little bits here, because what you do is you roll them up into a ball and you use it again. But you do need to use it within a specified time. So if you're going to be doing something like this, make sure that you have more than one to do so that you can not waste any of it. There you go. Now you can just go and push it down a second time if there's anything there that you think you might have moved. And that's it, done. Now, what I also like to do is go over it with a rag, a damp rag, to wipe off any residue. And if I've actually touched any of these, I will wipe those over as well. And I generally do regardless, because I really don't want any residue to remain on those pedals. So I'll do that now. And I just get this damp rag and just wipe it over. And I'll wipe it over these too, because I could have accidentally touched those. There you go. And that's it, done. I'm going to continue on, and I'll see you in the next video with another update. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.